They called it magic, madness, make-believe. But what if I told you the mystery was meant for you? This is Spooky Happy Hour. Let's discover your spirit.
All right, y'all, welcome back to Spooky Happy Hour. I'm your host, Bree, and as you can see on this week's episode, I am not at my regular location, aka my bedroom. We are on site at the haunted Doss House in Loretto, Pennsylvania, and I have two guests that are joining me. I'm joined by Brittany Aaron, aka Batty with Brittany, the winner of the Liberty Theater Convention raffle, and Shawnna Rigsby, founder of Paranormal Unique 1.5. Welcome, ladies.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
So, Shawnna, tell me how Paranormal Unique 1.5 originated and how you came to own the Doss House.
Okay, so originally it was Unique Paranormal 1. My mom, Holly Cataldo, founded this group probably about, I want to say about 12 years ago-ish. She ran this group more so out on the East Coast, Westchester area. Spent a lot of years investigating with my mom and not a lot of believability from my perspective as things went along. I thought she was really full of herself. That was a nice way of putting it. But I just went and hung out with her. It was time for us to do stuff. We lived about 4 or 5 hours apart from each other, so it was what brought us together to hang out. We started going to the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash every year. That became a yearly thing for us. So that's how all the paranormal stuff started. My mom was very gifted. She was a psychic medium, clairvoyant, all of those kinds of things. Again, me being her kid, I thought she was full of crap. But here we are. So as the years went by, obviously, I started to become more intrigued. We started doing bigger things, buying all the cool little gadgets, and her teaching me her ways of investigating, which is, I implement a lot of those ways now. Unfortunately, and this was quick and fast, 2023 in July, she had been sick for a couple years. She was diagnosed with stage 4 bone cancer. And 7 weeks later, we lost her. So in September of 2023, she passed away. Again, very quick, very fast. So in that process of losing her, taking over her group, as I've been telling everybody, it kind of developed into my grief journey. And Unique Paranormal 1.5 was created to continue her honor. And me and my wife, Danielle, have been steadily doing that, meeting all of these awesome people that my mom knew and getting all these cool connections. And the Doss House came to light because my mom always wanted to own a haunted location. So my wife, being the way that she is, when she gets an idea in her head, it doesn't stop until she succeeds. So we just started looking, and my mom wanted a haunted Airbnb, but we don't have a money tree. So we had to start somewhere. And we came across this place. And of course, seeing it, once you see it from outside, you're like, oh, okay.
The creep factor is there.
She's got vibes.
100%. So of course, like the day we came to look at it, the current owner at the time was with us, and Danielle's like, yep, we're buying it. And I was like, whoa. Like, just because it looks creepy doesn't mean that it is. Yeah. So the current owner let us in that following weekend. We brought a couple of our teammates that were really close with my mom with us, and my good friend Beth, her husband, who was like non-believer. It was great to have him here that night, though. So we came in and investigated. The property was completely hoarded out. We were in here like trying to spoosh some things away to make a clean space to sit, and we were actually setting up in this space. And as we were like, okay, where do we want to start? What do you guys want to do? In that moment, it sounded like there was a gunshot under our feet. The floor actually rose up. Danielle was standing next to me. I saw her out of my peripheral kind of raise up. And Brent, who was sitting on the other love seat, everybody kind of just was like, what the? And we froze. And because, like I said, at the time, the house was hoarded out, so you couldn't get down the dining room steps to get to the basement. So Danielle and Brent jumped up, ran outside around the house because they thought maybe somebody was in the basement. Rightfully so. They opened the back door, again, hoarded out, had to like climb over stuff to get to the original back part of the basement. That part of the basement was completely empty. There was nothing in there. No hoard, nothing stored, nothing in there that could have made any type of noise. Brent, of course, checked every beam, every wall, everything. There was no logical, scientific explanation for what had happened. So the night continued on, and it got crazier and crazier and crazier. And needless to say, about 30 days later, we signed the papers and we bought the Doss house. So here we are. So everything we do, the reason why we did this is all in continuance in honor of my mom. So here we are.
So what a beautiful tribute to your mom, though.
Thanks.
You know, what do you think that she would say if she were here?
Well, for one, I know there's like no jealousy in heaven or the afterlife or something like that. But if she was here physically, oh man, she'd be losing her mind. She would be so jealous. I would be so annoyed with her because she would not leave me alone because yeah, but you know, hindsight's 2020. None of this ever would have happened. And she was a big projector of divine order, that everything happens for a reason. And in its time, she was a big believer that your story is already written out for you. I know that there's a little bit of conflict with that. Like Patty's always like, yeah, there's divine order, but you're in control of that because you have the choices. My mom always believed those choices were already preconceived for you, like because of the whole divine order thing. So like I said, hindsight's 2020. You know, of course I'd give anything to have her back here physically. But we wouldn't be sitting here today had the things not went the way they did.
Right. She had to go down her path so that you could go down your path.
Correct. Correct.
You mentioned when you were younger, like maybe really not believing in the things that she would say or do. But now obviously you do. You own this haunted location.
Yeah.
You're here all the time, like having relationships with this energy. Was there a moment in time where that changed for you? Going
100%.
from like mom's batshit crazy to no, I actually really believe in everything she just said.
100%. So this was probably about 6 years ago, prior to me moving up this direction. I lived in St. Mary's. And a friend of mine who was very much into paranormal as well and getting readings and all that stuff. She asked if my mom would, because she knew my mom was coming in town to visit us. Would my mom give her a reading? And I was like, whatever, you want to waste your time? Like, that's fine. So I asked my mom, and she's like, of course. So she came over, and there was a recent tragedy in her family that she was trying to get some closure on. And my mom came in and they sat in my living room. And so my mom was very old school, of course. You know, you have side by sides now. And as my mom was describing what had happened to this family member of hers, she's like, you know, those big things with big dirt tires and they drive them in like the sand dune things, like boom buggies and stuff. So that was her way of describing what a side by side was. So in that moment, I was like, So then I started actually listening. And as she kept going on and described the trauma and the accident and all of these things that my mother would have had no idea about, it kind of flipped a different switch in my brain. Like, okay, maybe she really isn't batshit crazy. I started being more open-minded about it. And that changed everything. Once I decided to be more open-minded about it, investigations changed for me. Things that I was seeing and perceiving, hearing, thinking, feeling, all of those senses opened up.
No more walls.
There was no more walls. And then I was like, anybody else here? Because I like when you have those walls up, you don't hear things, you don't see things, you're not even open to the idea that it's a possibility. But once that transition happens, oh, you guys know, it's a whole new world. Like, and then it kind of becomes addicting, like tattoos.
It really does. It's
hooked.
the adrenaline rush, you know?
Absolutely.
And it's that tether.
Chasing the curiosity. Yep.
For sure. It's the tether to like another realm. And, you know, we can get into that a little bit more too. But it's a tether to something that's not here. And it's completely unseen.
Correct.
And you have to be open to that. If you're not, you don't get what you want, right? So there is kind of people's perception of what you give is what you get. What do you guys think about that?
I think that definitely, like, if you're open to believing that there are other possibilities and stuff like that, you're going to have those experiences. Like, things are going to present themselves to you because they know you're there to communicate with them and know that you're there to pay attention to them. And for me, and I know it's for a lot of people too, it's comforting to know that when somebody passes, that's not the end of the line. That, you know, like, there is further communication for us to talk to our loved ones or anybody else, like, to tell their story that, you know, maybe they didn't get a chance to in their real life. Nobody listened to them or, you know, something like that. And we're able to give them a voice now. And that's one of my favorite parts of all of this.
I was going to say, I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of this all is it's humbling for the people that are left behind.
Yeah.
Who may not have ever had closure if things like this didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Amy Bruni is one of my favorite people on this planet and is like a huge role model for me. And she calls herself a social worker for the afterlife.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of it, right? Is like we can still have humanity and community even with the spiritual realm.
100%. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I don't always subscribe to the you give what you get, only because we're on spirit time.
Right.
And I think that people really want more control of the experience. And I think that for me, in my opinion, that's what gives them control of the experience. Thinking that if they can go in there and do everything right or be as open as they can or whatever, then they're going to give what they're getting and, or get what they're giving. And they might be able to give a lot and still not be able to walk away with anything.
Right.
And I love paranormal investigations because I'm so out of control. And I don't really dabble in the out of control in my daily life because fuck that.
Right.
But this is a place where I get to just kind of like be free, vulnerable, and like let my freak flag fly.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Be curious and do things and experience things that nobody else really does unless you've also experienced it.
Right. And it's funny that we're talking about this because we were just talking about this theory with Blue Bodhi last night that when different types of energies enter a location, 100% depicts what reactions you're going to get. Like, for example, we had a group in here this past weekend. There was an older gentleman in here. You could tell nothing on this planet scared him, fazed him, nothing. And that's exactly what he got when he was in here. Nothing. But then on the flip side of that group, you had more open, willing, talking. You had people who were like, I'm not putting up with your bullshit. You had people that were scared and ready to run out the front door. That's the type of energy and openness that allows spirit, like an open doorway to be like, yep, I can get to these people. I can scare that one. I can get a message through to this one. I'm not fucking with that guy. It's like can take you from 0 to 100 in 5 minutes.
And like, I always try to prescribe to, I follow the Newkirk Museum. I'm a member and all of that, but like they do all kinds of experimental things. And one of their biggest things that they implement recently is the active play. When they go on locations and stuff like that, they always set up different activities and different things to do that get them all laughing and carrying on and having fun while they're investigating, where it's not this like solemn, stern, gotta get this done like kind of thing. And usually while they're playing a card game or doing something like fun, like playing hide and seek or this or that, that's when they get their best activity.
You had one of the biggest experiences of our lives over in the barbershop. Everybody singing and dancing and playing music. Like, she was legitimately dancing with spirit on the SLS, like super intelligent responses, grabbing hands. And like, this went on for like an hour.
Oh yeah.
Check.
Multiple songs.
Oh, it was
like
incredible.
on the SLS, you can see spirit holding my hands, and we're like getting down.
And
we're
everybody
grooving.
was just so happy in that moment, and it was
the
just
energy was incredible.
Super,
the mag lights were going off.
It was awesome.
I remember because she had sent me like a little, snippet of it. And I also think that it was really cool, the song that was playing while it was happening. So Brittany, tell us a little bit about like what made you be like, nope, I know the perfect jam.
Yeah. So Shawn and I were sitting there investigating, and I was like, we need to play oldies or something. So we're trying to figure out like time period wise that like, the barber would have listened to and stuff. So we asked them like, what would you like to hear? And I think we had Necro on a speaker right in between us, and it goes, Hank.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you want some Hank Williams?
Well, and then just in that moment, we had somebody in the comments who had known Doss and knew one of his favorite songs that happened to be a Hank Williams song.
Yep.
And
then it lit up. We played it and
there.
it lit up. And then we were playing Johnny Cash and like just Patsy Cline and on and on and on. And I even sat in there after we were live, sat in there by myself in the barber chair, and I had my mag light, which is one of my favorite pieces of equipment. And I was sitting there playing like other oldies, and the mag light would go on and off like to the beat or to like my questions, like, do you like this song? Click, it was on.
It was awesome. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
how amazing when you know you're communicating with someone on whatever the other side means, but
Right.
they're there and we're here. And when those like stars align, you get that big burst of,
Yeah.
for me, it, fills my cup.
Oh,
When something like that
absolutely.
happens, like, and it could be the only thing that happens in an entire 10-hour night, and
Right.
that's enough for those 10 hours to
Exactly.
be worth it.
And I love that it didn't have to be something scary either.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so much investigative content and everything is all pushed to be terrifying and scary. Don't get me wrong, I've experienced those things too.
And it's fun. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's
I love that aspect of
terrifying
it a
and
lot.
fun at the same time.
But like, that was just so wholesome and like such a human connection.
Yeah.
Right. Nothing, it doesn't have to be terrifying.
Right.
But, I mean, if we switch gears into the terrifying stuff, because there is a lot of terrifying things that you both experience and other people too.
Yes.
The house has gained some major recognition, and there's been so much foot traffic in the last 6 months. So how has the house been responding to all of the different energies?
So we actually have just decided, with talking with a good friend of ours, Larissa Rex, we're going to kind of implement an experiment with people coming in if they're willing, because we're noticing that a lot of visitors are having effects from the house on their travels here, to how they feel once they enter the home, investigating the home, and then how they feel when they get home. So as long as people are willing to kind of, give us some answers to some questions prior to coming, answering some questions when they get here, we're curious to see how that's going to go, because the house definitely, especially when we were in the process of purchasing it, my wife had to pull over several times for me to throw up on our way here.
Wow.
Brittany had some really big, a lot of people have effects coming to this house but why? You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're going to try to figure out why. We're going to ask questions like, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, areas that you live in, because we feel a lot of those, specifically those three things, are playing a huge role on how people are becoming affected when they come in here, whether you're Catholic or a witch or, all the religions. We feel that because this is such Catholic predominant area, spirits are interacting with that differently. Your sexual orientation, because back in the day, you was one way or the other, and if you weren't, then you were ridiculed and all of these things. And the house reacts to certain people in that regard.
There was one time in particular, it told me to get my ass in the closet.
It put her right in the closet.
We
put her in the closet too.
And there were stuff like that has happened to another teammate of ours, Amy. Also,
Poor Amy.
The house despises her for some reason, like
for no reason.
Uses
She's
the see you next
nothing.
Tuesday word towards
Oh
her.
man, that's shots fired.
Oh, man. Like, and she is legitimately upset, like trying to figure out. She's brought gifts to the house. She's like always asking, like, what can I do so you're not so angry with me, and all of these things. It doesn't matter.
Dang, this laundry list of items, and they're like checking them off. Nope, won't work.
Yep.
I'm under Estes, and the one time I went, ew, Amy.
Yeah. Yeah, like shit like
that all the time. She's literally sitting here like,
what did I do, guys?
What is
Like,
happening?
I guess, the like adage of like you're not everybody's cup of tea also applies to haunted houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every team that's in here, I think for the most part, the house singles somebody out.
It's
Yeah.
very judgy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's a judge.
Like if you are the type of person that you are the most wonderful, pleasant person.
Don't know when that stopped, but
Person.
of course, now that we're talking about people not liking the different energies and stuff in here, it literally just stopped. I turned and looked and I was like, that's been recording for a while. So for everybody who's watching, in case I suck at editing like I know I can, we were talking about how there's one person that the house doesn't like, and we talked about how much all of the energy is impacting the house and the relationships that we have with it. And as soon as we started talking about it, my camera died. All right, Doss House, listen here.
No, bitch.
All the time.
Not today. Not today.
Right. Give us some good vibes for the rest of this. We're talking about you, okay?
Good fuck.
And I just think like the more attention we've all been giving it, the more amped up it gets. Because you figure like the people that lived here didn't want to pay attention to anything paranormal that was happening. They didn't want to acknowledge it or any of that kind of stuff, and we are. like wholeheartedly. We are.
I mean, you're ushering it in, you're encouraging it, you're adjusting the environment so that it's easier for this house to really take shape and form and personality. And it's got a big one.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, I think a big part of that though that was important to us was trying to keep it as original as we could. Like 80% of the items in here were in here. You know, unfortunately we had to go through the hoard to get the pieces, a lot of the pieces that you see, but I think that plays a big role in properties. If you have energy that is connected to the property remain there, I think it helps intensify things. And then people gifting things brings in more energy. And then just the energy of the humans that are coming in here. You could have somebody who's nice as pie to your face, but you at home, they're a complete asshole. This house is going to know that.
Yeah, it's going to tell you. It'll come straight out and call you right out on your crap.
If there's some type of connection to the prior investigation, you know what I mean? Like, they may already know kind of what's up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the only real stories that I've heard about some spiritual energy that can do that is usually darker in nature. So, Brittany, tell me your experiences with the darker energy, because you and I have known each other for a long time. You know, we've known each other since high school, and you've always been authentically you. You know, into things that maybe weren't socially acceptable at that time, and you just didn't care, which is something that I totally admired about you then, and then really, really have respect for you now. So tell me a little bit about how your spiritual sensitivity had come about, how this house has helped you develop it, and how you've come to the point now where you can call yourself a psychic medium and have a little bit of that conviction in using those words.
So I've always had experiences my whole life. I grew up with undiagnosed ADHD and autism. So I always just kind of thought I was a little bit nuts because there's always all kinds of stuff going on in my brain. But my dad, like she said, with her mom, my dad was into the paranormal and everything. He had a near-death experience and then was a very gifted, like, one-on-one psychic medium, to the point where, like, I didn't believe his crap at first either, but then, like, he's pulling things out that he's never met these people. Like, Facebook didn't exist like it does now. The internet didn't exist like it does now. Like, he'd have no way to ever know this stuff. So then I was like, oh, okay. He was also a practicing witch, so that was my background growing up. I kind of didn't really do the whole paranormal thing, because that was kind of his thing. I didn't really want anything to do with it. So then fast forward to now, my dad passed away in 2019. I lost a string of people really back to back in those couple years around 2020. Once that all had happened, like, I started getting dreams and I just felt like I knew things, and things just started kind of falling into my lap sometimes. Well, I had taught myself to crochet, long story short, and was at a festival, and so was Shawnna. And we were, like, across from each other, and I remember looking over and being like, that looks like my kind of booth. They've got crystals, they've got metaphysical things. And I was like, who is that lady? Like, I was so drawn to this picture of this lady that they had on their booth. And then I see underneath it, in neon pink and black, Unique Paranormal 1.5. And I was like, my mom was with me. I was like, see you later, Mom. I've got things to do. So, and we all know here that I have no trouble making friends. So I go waltzing right on over, and I'm like, hi, what's up? I like your stuff. Who's this lady? Like, you know, and then come to find out that, like, the connection I had with that picture, that it was a picture of her mom, Holly. So it was like she called me over there to that booth to meet them and start, like, our journey. So I'm like, oh, where are you guys from?
Again,
like,
divine order.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, where are you guys from? Stronkstown. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's where I live. What do you mean? It's like this big around.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, where? So she tells me, and I'm like, that's literally like 1.5 miles from my house.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like,
she's like, I'm legit kind of on the
seriously?
same road as you.
Yeah, I'm like,
And
we're
I'm
literally
like,
on the same road. Like, what?
Yeah.
Then, like, you know, we became friends on Facebook and stuff. A couple months later, they didn't have the house yet. A couple months later, a friend of mine on another team reached out, said, hey, I heard about this house. I see you're friends with the owner. What do you know about it? I'm like, nothing, but I can find out for you. So I messaged Shawnna and I was like, hey, like, I don't know if you remember me. And she's like, of course I do. I'm like, okay. So I was like, you know, tell me about this house. Like, my friends have a team and they're interested and everything. And she's like, actually, I'm about to head out there, like, now to check on some stuff. You want to ride along? And I was like, well, I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
So she picks me up and away we go.
Yeah, I told Danielle, I'm like, I don't know who this girl is, but I mean, I met her at this the thing at Dickert's, and I'm taking her out to the house. She's like, okay, have fun.
You're like, if you don't hear from me in an hour, maybe come by.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I was like, just peeping on the cameras every now and then.
It's fine. But, like, she had given me no history of the house. So she literally, we get here, she unlocks the door and says, go ahead.
I said, I'm just going to follow you around.
Yep. So I came in and hit some different spots. So my abilities...
This was a very emotional day for Brittany.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
This was very emotional.
This was my very, very first validation. Like, hardcore, like, that I'm not nuts validation. And I'm not normally even comfortable... Because I wasn't into the paranormal field at this point. Like, this was just the beginning of October. And I'm not usually comfortable rattling off what I see or feel or anything like that. But with Shawnna, I just walked in and was like, okay, let me see. And for me, the way things come across is like, I see it like a movie playing in my head. Mm-hmm. Like, so when I see a space, I see what has happened there. Like, I don't necessarily see the person physically in front of me, but I see it like in my mind's eye. So walked around and hit different spots in here and just told her like what I felt, and go in the basement, and I'm like, I know nothing about this house. I'm like, can I take my shoes off? And she's like, I mean...
I'm like, dude, like, there's glass, and
dirt.
We don't know what's down here.
I was like, I have my tetanus shot. It's all right.
I was like, dude, you die. It's on you.
Yeah. So...
Updated my vaccine schedule before I got here.
You leave a toe in the dirt, that's on you.
It's fine. So I go barefoot in the basement and dug my little toes down in the dirt and just rattled off everything I felt to her. And then when we came back up, then she told me everything that she had known historically that had happened here, and I nailed like most of them. And we went outside and I was like, I just have to tell you, like, maybe you're used to this kind of stuff, but like, I'm not. And I feel so mind blown right now. Like, I was like, I don't even know how to wrap my head around like anything that's going on. So then after that, she was like, I think it was literally like the same day or maybe the next day I came on like an actual like investigation. Mm-hmm. She was like, so do you want to join the team or what? And I was like, I mean, obviously, yeah. And then like 2 days later, we went to the Midway and investigated with the team there. Then we went to Creston. Yeah. And it's just been a whirlwind ever since. And I'm here all the time. So then, you know, like, it's been an incredible experience to have this, to be able to test and practice my abilities, or, you know, anything to feel validated. Like, the longer I spend time in the house, the more things I see and feel and experience. So I've been like just writing them all down. So then when we have bigger names come in here, like Larissa and Blue and stuff, then the things that I see, I wait to see what they pick up and then feel insanely validated. The day that we were here for the Blue event, Larissa gets a pair of her dowsing rods out, and Shawnna's holding them, and she goes, watch this. Watch what psychic mediums can do that have ergokinesis. So Shawnna's holding the rods, and Larissa goes to go like this to move them back and forth.
I'll send you the video.
It's great.
Cut it in this.
Yeah. So I'm standing like back behind Shawnna, and I just think to myself in my head, what if I could stop her from doing that? Just, you know, I did. Larissa's like, oh, it's probably because Blue's in here. Then she looks up.
Because then I fucked with her, and I was like, that was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did y'all hear that?
Yeah, there was just a bang upstairs.
I thought it may have been in the...
No, it was up behind me.
It's like a little vibration too.
I heard a bang.
Yeah, no, like a bang,
But like the vibration of that that's why I was like, did somebody like bottom out on a pothole outside?
You're right, like, that's a big truck going past, and it didn't sound like that.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
it's fine.
You know, it's a haunted location. It's fine.
Yeah, come down and join us. There's a seat open.
Yeah, right? Sit next to Shawnna. She'll love it.
We're here.
It's fine.
Yeah, so then Larissa looks over at me and she goes, it's you. It's you blocking me. And I was like, I mean, maybe. Yeah. So then she holds the dowsing rods and has me try it. And she goes, look, this is what it's like when somebody doesn't block you. And sure enough, I could get them to move. So then we each got our own set of dowsing rods out and pointed them at each other.
Harry Potter duel down in the dining room.
It was incredible. So like my focus was to point mine together at a point to keep hers apart. And she was trying to get hers to a point to blow mine apart. And she couldn't. And somebody said something about it being a Harry Potter battle. So then I, of course, yell, Avada Kedavra. And then she goes, you shall not pass. Which is Lord of the Rings, but it's still fine.
It works. Same run.
Yeah.
And then later on, we were back at Shawnna's house, and she's like, yeah, you have a psychic sitting right here. And she's pointing to me, and I was like,
You're talking to me? Me? Who?
wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, can we hold the conversation?
Yeah.
Wait, what? And she's like, yeah, duh. And then I had another reading from John Covey a couple weeks after that. And the first thing he said, he was like, you're a seer like me, aren't you? And I was like, well, I guess that's validation again that I'm not nuts.
Yeah, it's hard because we search for that in some way, shape, or form all of our lives, right? Maybe we search for that validation through our parents, our friends, the activities that we do, or whatever else, and it's...
I told you he came to sit by you. Yeah, you got a friend over there, huh?
Like the left side of my body is tingly.
I can feel this whole cold breeze.
Y'all told him to sit by me.
And that's the validation, right? We're talking about validation and getting it, and Spirit, we're on Spirit time. So Spirit, thank you for validating us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
It's an important tool too. And I think it's very easy for all of us to dismiss messages that we might get from the spiritual realm, even if we're not, psychic medium, right? But everybody probably has something.
Did you hear this?
What is happening?
I saw something.
Next to you? There's creaking, the floor went down.
I just saw it on across from the laptop. There was this
hey Mom, you want to be a part of the interview? Just jump in the middle.
Right? She's like, you can't get all the recognition, bitch. Let me in there.
Right? If your camera distorts during this when you're playing that.
I was just thinking because that's what was important to me, bringing, anytime anybody new comes in here, is the authenticity of letting them just see it, feel it, and tell me what they think about it with no judgment, no anything. And that's how my mom was. Right. And my mom was very much like, everybody's welcome. If you don't like so-and-so and you don't, that's fine. You guys, everybody is always welcome here. And she allowed everybody to just be who they were. Nobody was ever right. Nobody was ever wrong. Everybody's ideas, thoughts mattered. And if you felt super convicted about something, she worked with you to get through it. I've been telling her, it's a shame that in these bigger people that offer classes that you have to pay for these things. And if you're not in a position to be able to do that, I understand that. And this is how these people make a living. I get it. They're wonderfully gifted people. But for people who can't afford it, who are just discovering these abilities, they have nobody to turn to. Yeah. Right. Nobody to help guide them. My wife, Danielle, is struggling big time. Since my mom's passing, I think she's always had gifts, but since my mom's passing, her world has been split wide open, and it's the detriment of when people are coming into their abilities. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to navigate it. They don't know if they're not crazy or losing their mind. They have nobody to talk to for validation or places to go to that people know things to help validate them. Or when they have spirits constantly bombarding them to the point that they can't hear in a space and they don't know how to filter or navigate those emotions, and then they shut down, and then they literally do feel like they're crazy.
It's like paranormal mental health.
Yeah,
we need more of
and
that.
And that's my next mission is trying to find a way or a community, even if it's an online community, kind of like a paranormal support group. For people.
Mental health counselor here, by the way.
See? Right. Helping people navigate these things and abilities so that they can feel validated. So they do have people to say, nope, what you're saying, thinking, feeling is okay. And this is what you can do. These are tools you can use. These are fancy little rocks you can use to help ground yourself, or tools or exercises, breathing exercises. There's a million different methods that people can use or suggest.
Yeah, and depending on their beliefs, you can change it to that.
Tailor it to what they need.
Exactly.
Because it brings it back down to, like you said, mental health awareness. I can't imagine how many people in this lifetime or in the world have given up because they have felt that they're crazy when they really weren't.
When you're living, right, in a haunted house, there's an entire, subgenre, if you will, of clinicians, which I didn't really know about until like a couple years ago. But there's an entire like paranormal like certificate of counseling in terms of when somebody comes into my office that may be displaying all of these signs and symptoms that I really could prescribe some type of mental health diagnosis to, but really they're responding to their environment.
Yeah.
And that environment isn't the norm.
Yeah.
So thus it doesn't stand against all this criteria, because I could give them all these tools to do, but that other side of things are so unpredictable.
Right.
You know, so I think that it's much needed, because sometimes you come into a clinician, you don't fit the bill, and then your therapy doesn't work and you feel like you're crazy, or you're this or you're that. So whether you're dealing with abilities that you don't know how to perceive, you don't know how to use for your best benefit, or if you're living in a house with, you know, other spirits, then someone needs to be there that really understands you. Because imagine, you know, in all of the ways that we've struggled throughout our lives, having somebody in those moments that would have got it and comforted us and gave us a way forward, wouldn't that have been the biggest difference?
Yeah, and I think it's important then, like, because you're putting the power into that person's hands. Like, instead of them having to hire somebody to do a home cleansing or to cleanse themselves or this or that or whatever, like, it gives them the power to do it, like, themselves, and to control their own environment, their own abilities, and all of that kind of stuff. Like, knowledge is power. And if you have somebody teaching you and guiding you, the world is literally at your fingertips at that point. And I truly believe that everybody has abilities to some extent. I don't know, like, it just feels like we're in some kind of big spiritual awakening right now. And, like, everybody seems to be having a lot of these experiences and stuff that they just have no clue.
Okay, so this is really weird. So my mom is literally in my head.
Like you can hear a voice in your head? Is that what you mean?
Okay, so this is an idea that's being born in this moment. I think it's because I was talking about all of that. And it's clicking to me in this moment, because my mom used to always say, actually, like the last week before she died, actually, she looked at me and said, I told you I wasn't lying. I wasn't a liar. I didn't make this stuff up. Sorry. This has never happened to me.
It's okay.
So I think she's just confirming to me that doing something more to help people in this.
That's what she's been trying to get through the whole freaking
is what
time.
I need to do.
Mom, I always believed you. Like, she never felt love and support from her family in her journey through all of this. They all did tell her she was crazy. Okay, Mom, you can get out of my head now. Everything and for years and years, it was like a stigma that was attached to her. And she never had support until she found the paranormal community. And that changed her whole life, making friends that validated to her that she wasn't crazy. And that things she was seeing.
It's picking up something in between the two of you, like trying to frame a face.
I feel super emotional right now.
So I'm
things that she was experiencing were validated by these people, which was why the Hoover house was a big place for my mom. She loved it down there. Pam and Steve were like her siblings, and that's where she planted her roots in the paranormal field, and where now I have the support and love of the paranormal community is important. Yeah, so I feel like now I need to try to create a community or a safe place for people to turn to.
Well, and you have like a real opportunity to have an event, right? There's an event coming up in June, the Creep It Real Festival,
right?
The very first one. That is a community of all of those people, right, in the paranormal that you can do that with. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about what they can expect and how you did bring this community together to put on a whole festival in this place where, honestly, we're in Loretto, Pennsylvania, okay? This isn't a community that is like, you know, super welcoming or open to the paranormal. So how did you bring that together?
With that simple concept of bringing the community together and being friendly and loving and caring about one another. You know, just kind of like when you invite your girlfriends over for the night and you can just be yourselves and have fun and talk about your life, and you know, you leave the next day or hours later feeling rejuvenated, ready to take on the world per se. Like, that was the energy you would leave having events with my mom. So that's the intention of the day, and to help people and bring awareness, have things for people to reach out to feel like they're contributing to something that matters, and meet amazing people. To me, that's the biggest picture. So, and we have tons of guest speakers, from paranormal to equipment to Beyond the Badge. Is that the
Beyond the
they
Badge.
are for mental health awareness. We have Santiago Cirillo, Haya Nation, also veterans, wounded veterans, veterans in general, mental health awareness, anti-bullying. So lots of people, not just geared towards paranormal. It just so happened that this was a big part of my mom's life, and a way to bring people together to portray these messages. And
you don't have to believe in the paranormal to come.
No,
Right.
no, absolutely not. Because it's not like these horror cons. Like, we are bringing in people from all the surrounding communities to bring in things that are matter to them, things that they sit in their homes and put time and effort into and create, and to share that with everybody. People involved in acting and who are on TV, and but also serve a bigger purpose for mental health awareness and veterans and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be awesome. We have a lot of activities lined up for everybody. It is for kids of all ages. We're going to have a kids section for crafts, face painting. Don't have all the details together yet, but there's definitely going to be a lot of stuff for the whole family. We're going to have food vendor, drink vendors,
VIP stuff,
VIP tickets to meet these actors, actresses, celebrities, whatever you want to call them. Did it turn off again?
Sure did.
Huh.
Sure freaking did, man. All right, guys, it is time for my favorite segment of Spooky Happy Hour, and that is concoctions and conundrums. So we're going to do 2 rounds. You will pick a number between 1 and 13, and I'll ask the question associated with that number. So who has one in their mind already?
13.
That's the same one I was going to pick.
Baby. All right. 13. Do you believe in the multiverse theory? You know, that there's so many different timelines out there, and that a lot of the spiritual energy or things that we interact with crosses over in those different timelines.
Funny that it should be that question in this house.
I did not believe that before this house.
Interesting.
I believed in heaven, earth, and hope, and interconnected energy until this house. There are time loops in here that make no sense. That's probably the biggest part of it, is the
we
time
experienced
loops,
that on our
the lack of
investigation.
time,
Yep.
cameras freezing in certain time periods that you can't reset or figure out why.
You can't manually set the security cameras to any time. It just automatically sets to Eastern Standard Time.
Because it's all connected through the internet, right?
Right.
But at one point we were stuck in 1969 and 1970.
Correct. And just in the kitchen and the barbershop. Yeah. We even tried to have a New Year's Eve event here to try to figure it out. Still have no idea.
Well, and in our investigation too, we had something happen in the barbershop, and we wanted to see the security cam footage. And then when we asked for it, it was actually gone.
Yeah. That happened to the group, I think, the following weekend after you were in here. They did a whole investigation upstairs.
Yep, heard that too.
So they did a whole hour and a half upstairs in the bedroom, and it was like they didn't even exist. Our good friend Sarah Lee, she wears a smartwatch. When she arrived here, her phone would not take video. It would not take pictures. We came in the house. We had a great small investigation here that day. Again, her phone wouldn't work. When she got home that evening, she called me freaking out. She's like, Shawnna, my watch showed that I was not even a human being on this planet from the moment I left my house until the moment I got back.
It's like she entered a different realm.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There's been times here where I was over at the hall doing things and came over here and pounded on the window to try to trigger the security cam to get something to pop up on her phone, and her be like, oh my God.
Who's here?
Nothing. The cameras picked up nothing. We're here 2 weeks later investigating. We hear the exact same knocking sound that I made on the window over in the barbershop.
Yep. And it showed up on the video footage about 3 weeks later.
Wow. I mean, and it makes sense now. You can't refute that stuff. There is no way to explain it. And you've, thought about all these things. So now there is that multiverse theory that you can get behind. And I think that we all need that moment for us to believe that impossible type stuff exists. And you had it, and now you know.
Yeah. Craziness.
Yeah.
Brittany, what about you? What's your number?
3.
Okay. 3. What is the true nature of reality? Is it a physical construct, a simulation, or something else entirely?
I don't really think we're in a simulation. If we are, it is.
I want out.
Yeah, it is extraterrestrial in nature, and we are a test planet. But I that's just like my funny, like, belief. I believe that we are all overall higher entities, that we live multiple lifelines to perfect the ultimate being, to make us a well-rounded, if you want to call it your soul, your inner spark, your whatever, all of that. Essentially, that is my reality.
So kind of like you get redos over and over and over till you get it right?
Pretty much. Yeah, you live multiple different lifelines that give you many different hardships or eases or anything like that you go through. Kind of, reincarnation kind of idea that then, the highest astral plane, we all exist there as just light beings, like just ethereal, above any drama, above any pain, suffering, above anything. So like when people remember past lives, like I can remember, like I have memories from when I was a child that recently, not that long ago, was having a conversation with my family and like spit these facts out. And my mom was like, huh? That
Not
never
true.
happened.
Right.
Never happened. And I remember it in my head, like I remember every single moment of those memories, that like it wasn't an imaginary friend or this or that or whatever. And I just happen to have the memory that remembers all of that and could recall it all like it was real. And I think maybe that was just, it was either something that happened on that property before I ever lived there that I saw into, or it was something from a past life that, I was just experiencing breaking through.
And I will love to hear from you all, the viewers, your answers to these questions, because every time that I hear a new answer, a new door gets unlocked, and you all provide that here. And thank you both for spending your Monday with me. You all are going to see it on Thirsty Thursday. So come back here on Thirsty Thursdays for new episodes. And I'll see you guys at the Creep It Real Festival on June 21st with these amazing ladies as well. So until next time, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you.